What's up, everybody? This is the Sports League Podcast, back for another week. I'm your host, Alex League. We got Amanda, the co-host, on the show. What a crazy week of football, Amanda.
Oh, yeah, it was insane. I mean, I have never had a worse week in picking games ever. Like, my lead over you is now only one game. So it was a rough week for me. I mean, you joke about how I'm a warlock or a witch with my football picks each week. This week, holy shit, it was bad. It was a rough week, man.
Yeah, but it was crazy too. Like a lot of the games we thought we knew the answer to, ended up being upsets and a very unpredictable week. Um, I got lucky on a couple of mine, I feel like, but it was just hard to make picks the entire week. We said that in our preview as well.
Yeah, because a lot of these teams have been very hot and cold this season. I don't know if we've made it this far into the season and had so many teams who are still Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde with two very separate identities, depending on who shows up that week.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's get started on Raiders Bears, a battle of backup quarterbacks. No Jimmy G, no Justin Fields. So Brian Hoyer versus rookie Tyler Bagent. I picked the Raiders just because Bagent making his first career start. Who's going to anticipate him having a great game? But Bears jump out to a 21-3 lead and blow out the Raiders 30-12. Did you see, some of this game, and what did you think? Was it the Bears playing well, or are the Raiders just really bad?
I mean, Hoyer was just inaccurate. He let drives fall apart. He failed in the red zone. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the Raiders defense, they hadn't had one all season, so I don't know what we were expecting there anyway. But I figured Brian Hoyer had his head on his shoulders more so than an undrafted rookie quarterback from a Division II university. Like I was expecting Hoyer to keep his head on his shoulders, and he was a hot mess.
Yeah.
I was also surprisingly pleased with Getsy's calls during the game, and we have talked all kinds of shit about him over the
Mm-hmm.
years throughout the season and stuff. But I mean, he was calling a lot of quick throws, a lot of screenplays, the running game for Chicago. They were handling it and filling in the gaps where the rookie quarterback, Bagent, wasn't, quite ready to fill, and they built a good game around him.
Yeah, Deontay Foreman got the start and had one of his best games of his career with three combined touchdowns, two rushing, one receiving. Kind of came out of nowhere. We've been injury hit at running back, and it makes me think the Raiders must have a terrible run defense and defense overall. Tyson Bagent looks solid, but I still don't believe that Bagent is like a star in the making. I think he had a good game. It's a solid win, but I worry about this Raiders team more than anything.
Yeah, the Raiders, I mean, Josh Jacobs is an amazing player. The first couple of weeks, I was waiting for him to hit 100 yards in a game, but I mean, he had
Mm-hmm.
35 yards in this game, 11 carries. Um,
Gee.
I mean, the highlight of the game was the first few plays where Hoyer found Devontae Adams, but once the Bears defense realized, okay, he's only going to Devontae, they nipped that in the bud and it was done. I mean, after that, Hoyer, there was one opportunity where Devontae Adams was wide open and Hoyer missed him by like 5 yards. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what happened, but the Raiders are a mess.
Yeah, and he got benched in favor of the rookie. Aiden O'Connell came in for a little bit. Um, yeah, and then the Raiders on top of it, they said, I think pregame, that regardless of how unhappy Devontae Adams is with his role in the offense, they're not willing to trade him. I just think the Raiders are a mess. They're a lot worse than their record indicates at 3-4. I don't see this team making the playoffs, and I just feel like Josh McDaniels is tearing another franchise down, getting rid of Carr, pissing off Devontae, that this team's going to be in rebuild mode pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, I think they have to be. I mean, if you look at the teams they've beaten, like the Packers are in a rebuild mode, like so that win barely counts. Like I just think it's one of those years where their record does not indicate anything about the team, and this
Hmm.
team isn't going anywhere in the postseason. I mean, it's they just have way too many holes on both sides of the ball. I mean, you lose to a one-win team.
Yeah,
I don't care what your record is, you just look bad.
yeah. And So we'll see. I mean, I would like to see the Raiders trade Devontae to the Saints, reunite him with Derek Carr, add to that receiving core. That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, I'm a Packers fan. I want him to go back to Green Bay.
Yeah.
But we don't make big plays like that in the offseason, or the big trades isn't really something Green Bay does
Yeah.
historically. So probably not a lot to hope there for. But I know you were mentioning D'Onta Foreman in this game. I just wanted to give him a shout out. He is joining Pro Football Hall of Famer Walton Payton as the only players in Bears history with multiple rush touchdowns in a game versus the Raiders. So
Oh yeah.
he's in a very elite company there. So great game
Yeah.
for him, great week for him.
Anytime you're in the same conversation as the GOAT, that's pretty good stuff.
Right? Had to give him his props there.
Hell yeah. So Matt Eberflus, even with this win as Bears head coach, improves to 5-19 record. I still think it's going to be a long season. I'll be surprised if the Bears win 6 games, and I think all signs are pointing to Matt Eberflus being fired, which fingers crossed on that one, and hopefully that leads to Jim Harbaugh. What do you think about that, being a Packers fan?
Um, I mean, I'm a Michigan fan too, so
Yeah.
Harbaugh belongs at Michigan. He's done some good things there. I don't think we've seen him do as much as we're hoping he's able to do there, but there is a lot of drama. And I know, he's kind of been side-eyeing Chicago. So, I mean, I think he would do well for the Chicago Bears. I just think there's a lot more that they need besides a new coach. They need so many other parts filled and addressed, and it's probably going to be a couple of years before we can see enough of a turnaround there for them to be a contender again.
Yeah, I would love it. I would want Harbaugh to build it, is what
Mhm.
I'm saying. Like have Harbaugh choose the roster and build it around Fields and DJ Moore and like Roshan Johnson, dudes like that.
So you think
Um,
Fields is the guy going forward that they should be building around?
I'm still in on Fields. I can't give up on him based on getting hurt or inconsistencies because I feel like the team has put him in terrible situations to develop, and I can still see the potential in Justin Fields. I mean, we saw it last year alone with his legs.
Hmm.
Now, if he can get his arm to match, then you've got a weapon that, like Jalen Hurts or some of these Lamar Jackson, that can be pretty damn dangerous in this league. So I don't want to give up on him super quickly.
Yeah, I'll be intrigued to see what happens in this offseason, especially with the Michigan investigations going on, to see how everything kind of pans out coming into next year's NFL season.
Yeah, and if you're a Michigan fan, you got the team to win it all this year. So you got Harbaugh, try to win a championship, and then Harbaugh can leave after getting a championship.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that.
Yeah.
If we win one, like, all right, he can go now. We got what we needed.
Um, how about Browns Colts? This is a game that we both felt like we knew what was going to happen in our picks. What the hell happened here?
Oh, any given Sunday. I mean, talk about backup quarterbacks. This was another situation where, I mean, I, I like the Colts with Gardner Minshew. I think he's a good fit there. He's a great backup quarterback. But I definitely thought the Browns were going to pull this one off. But yeah, Minshew, their offense was so balanced. 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing. I mean, it was smooth. I really have no. I mean, it was a great game. It was a pretty even matchup. I don't have a lot to say. Like the they earned the win. Um,
Yeah.
for the most part. I know there's a bit of drama regarding some calls that were made by the referees. But I think the game ended the way that it should have. But, I also don't have any emotions involved in the game.
Yeah.
I know some fans are really pissed off about those calls. And, we just saw the link come out. I just sent it to you
But
where,
Ursay.
yeah, Irsay says that the NFL acknowledged incorrect calls. They've done that
Yeah.
in previous years and haven't changed the outcomes of games for it. So,
I'm Well, so Watson gets the start, and so we're excited about Watson coming back from injury. Then you look at what the Browns defense did last week, shutting down Brock Purdy for the most part and beating the Niners. So, and Minshew had just turned the ball over like crazy last week. So our common sense was like Minshew's going to turn the ball over, the Browns defense is going to dominate, and they're going to win this one easily, especially with Watson playing. But then Watson gets hurt, in comes PJ Walker, and I thought this game was over. Indy had was hit on multiple big plays on this defense. I was like, all right, Browns, like when are you gonna wake up here? And Indy leads late. Looks like they're gonna win it. Next thing you know, the Browns find a way to get it done. But I agree there was some interesting calls at the end of it. And the biggest quote I took away from it is Irsay saying instant replay needs to be allowed for everything in the final 2 minutes to make sure we get it right. And a couple of those pass interferences kind of seem like bailouts for the Browns, like hooking the Browns up to win. And when it's in Indy, you're in a position to win a game you didn't think you could. Fans are going to be pretty upset when a couple of calls seemingly bail out the Browns, you know?
Yeah, but think about it if that was the home team there. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it
Even
was
worse.
in Cleveland, then
Yeah.
there would be so much less noise about it. But because it was in Indianapolis, and I saw a couple non-calls that should have gone against the Colts in late in the second quarter. So for me, I'm like
Mm-hmm.
the game kind of balanced out. I mean, each team was making some pretty bad mistakes with the football throughout the game. I mean, the Browns blocked a field goal, illegal contact penalty. I mean, there was some mess happening.
Yeah.
But the team seemed pretty evenly matched. I mean, Shane Steichen is definitely the right coach for this for the Colts. I think we've kind of seen him prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they've lost some games that were really tough to lose, but they're still consistently competing. And I mean, that's the NFL's top defense that they lost to by 1 point. So I think they've been coming up with some great game plans. And I mean, moving forward without the drama with the referees and stuff, I think the Colts are kind of rounding themselves out and becoming a much better team than I thought they were going to be this season.
Yeah, I would have never anticipated 39 points being put, or 38 points being put on that Browns defense. Credit to Myles Garrett. Like, he single-handedly kept Cleveland in this game with like two forced fumbles, a blocked extra point. Like, he was crazy getting after Minshew. And then credit to Browns kicker Dustin Hopkins, who kicked 4 for 4 field goals, multiple from over 50 yards. So all those things put together, the Browns win by one, but the Colts looked a lot better than I thought they were going to. So
Yeah,
credit to
absolutely.
them.
Also, this game was so back and forth. It had eight
Hmm.
lead changes, which is the most in any NFL game in the past 4 years. So if you felt like you were getting whiplash watching this game, you were absolutely correct.
Yeah, and I was a little confused too. I felt like the Browns were playing Duke out there with those Colts uniforms.
Yeah, we saw
I'm
some
not a
interesting
fan of
uniforms
those.
in the past week.
Yeah, yeah. So but so another game, like this is the week where we thought we knew what was gonna happen, and then the opposite happened. Like Bills Patriots. Like what the fuck happened here?
So have you noticed that there's kind of a pattern with these one-win teams winning this week? The one
Yeah,
when Bears won, the one when Pats won,
yeah.
Broncos. Yeah, it was
Giants.
something with all the one-win teams. They're like, no, fuck these records. We're gonna start winning now. Yeah, it was an odd week. I don't really know what to say about this one. I think Belichick got pissed off about hearing people talk so much shit about him and like, oh, why did they extend his contract? I don't know if
Yeah.
he's, gonna be the guy moving forward. And he's like, nah, you know what? Mm-mm. So he came back. He's the third man in the league to win 300 regular season games now. He's up there with George Hollis and Don Shula. Like I think Belichick was just ready to flip that narrative around, and he got sick of hearing people talking shit. Is what I think happened.
Yeah.
It was dramatic last minute win. It wasn't like New England had this in the bag the whole time. They had a control over the game for the early part of the game. solid defense. The Bills were messy. And we've had our
It's
doubts about
been
the
like
Bills.
that.
As
Yeah.
yeah, as hopeful as we've been for them, there's been some questions, and the way New England matched up against them this week, they really highlighted those issues.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Mac Jones. Like he actually, that's the best he's looked all season against a very good Bills defense. I know they're down Matt Milano and who's there? Tre'Davious White, their star corner. So they're
Mhm.
missing pieces, but still, I would have never anticipated the way the Patriots have looked at times this year. It looked like they were done, like packing it in. This is such a refreshing win to get their second win of the year and kind of keep hope alive. Mac Jones looked like a quarterback that can win some games, right? And so that's encouraging. Um, yeah, Bill Belichick wins his 300th win. That's cool. About time, right? About time this team wakes up and starts playing some good football. But for the Bills, this is their third straight game of playing down to the competition. And, they easily could have lost the Giants game too. They could easily be in a 3-game losing streak right now, playing bad football.
Mhm.
They, we talked about this on the Bills season preview with Andre Reed about playing your best football at the right time. Right now, they're clearly not, you know?
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, I I've never seen Josh Allen get so in his head during a game, but he just seemed very distracted. Like normally he stays focused and he doesn't get distracted. And that's one of my favorite things about him is he's a passionate guy, but very clear-headed, very level-headed. He was just, I don't know. I don't know. And I mentioned this to you during the game. I don't know if he's got an injury we don't know about or if he's got the flu or something, but he
Yeah.
just did not seem on and focused the way we're used to seeing him.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on over there, but they got to figure it out soon. They're down 4-3 in a tough division with, the Jets playing better than we thought.
Mhm.
And the Dolphins, the best team in the division record wise right now. And the Dolphins, are going to be a tough team to beat. So we'll see if they get it turned around as soon as possible.
Yeah, they definitely need to. But let's look at our other New England team over here. 1-5 Giants pulling off their first win against the 3-3 Commanders. Giants pulled this one off 14-7.
And
Um,
then we called this one. This is
we
a good call
did.
by us.
We got this one right. What I think is interesting is all 14 of the New York Giants points were scored in the second quarter. Darren
Yeah.
Waller, Saquon Barkley, they both found the end zone. That was it. There
Yeah.
was no other points scored by the Giants the entire game, and only one score. I mean, it was such a slow game. Like it was, I mean, we called it right, but I definitely thought there was going to be more points on the board than that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It goes back to us not trusting the Commanders, right? And
Mhm.
divisional game like the Bills and Patriots, anytime you get in a divisional game with rivalries and all that, a lot of times you can throw out the records and it's just who plays better on that day. And this was, yeah, sloppy, ugly, low scoring
Mhm.
battle, but the Giants with Tyrod Taylor, not even Daniel Jones, with Tyrod Taylor do enough to win. And the Commanders could only put up 7 points. Like, really? That's a bad, not a great showing for them on the road.
No,
And the
but
Giants
also
just,
that
yeah.
Giants defense, they've been
Hmm.
really good the past couple weeks. I mean, obviously they lost to Buffalo last week, but that wasn't the defense's fault. The offense just didn't put up enough points. But that
Yeah.
defense has been solid. I mean, Sam Howell was sacked 6 times, 20 incomplete passes. I mean, they were going after it for sure. And I mean, there was no score in the final 39 minutes of a game for the Giants, and they still pulled off the win. That was
That's
all thanks to
crazy.
their defense.
Yeah. And credit to Wink Martindale, one of the best defensive coordinators in the game. Was killing it with the Ravens and now having success with the Giants. You love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what's going on with the Commanders. They play very beatable teams and lose to them and just sacrifice Sam Howell every week. That poor guy. I am shocked he's still playing, honestly, because that kid takes hits like he's
Yeah.
a freaking pinata.
That's what bad franchises do. They draft rookie quarterbacks and leave them out to die, leave them out to get hit 20 times a game, you know?
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, "Oh, that quarterback's a bust." And it's like, "Well, why do you think that is?"
Weird. Wonder why. But I
Yeah.
mean, on the other hand, Tyrod Taylor, he was great. I mean, some of those
Mhm.
passes were beautiful. Receivers looked good. His O-line gave him plenty of time to get the ball out. I mean, he was playing really well. So, it's all about having a good backup quarterback this year because our
Yeah.
starters are not staying in the game this season for some reason. NFL starters have played less games this year than any year I can remember at this point in the season.
Isn't that crazy too? With you think about how much the NFL babies the quarterback position, and you have to lay them down gently, and you can't land with your body weight on them. Like they've got all these rules to protect the quarterback position, and yet this year we're seeing all these backups, right?
Hmm.
It's crazy.
I wonder if
So
it's because they're not conditioned to take hits anymore
that's what
because
I
they
think.
have been babied so much that
Yeah.
they're not prepared for them. They're not braced for impact.
I think that has happened all around the league because we don't tackle and practice anymore, and everything's so much lighter as far as that off the practice and training camp and all that goes. I think that's been a league wide issue, and less less conditioned bodies for getting hit all the time are going to be more susceptible to injury, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
It
When
makes
you're used to
sense.
taking that impact, you know how to brace for it, you know how to tuck, you know how to protect
Yeah,
certain parts of your body, and they're just not getting hit enough to have their subconscious aware of what they should be doing to protect themselves in those situations.
yeah, and building up extra like muscle or overtime, in certain
Mhm.
areas, right?
Agreed.
I don't know. Let's go Falcons Bucks. The Bucks tie the game at 13 all with 45 seconds left, and Desmond Ritter comes up clutch once again with a big pass to Kyle Pitts, sets up Younghoe Koo to make a 51-yard game-winning field goal as the Falcons beat the Bucks 16-13 in Tampa Bay. We both were on the Bucks here. Ritter, another one of these. It's like Sam Howell too. The Falcons and Commanders are hard to figure out, and these young quarterbacks are so up and down in their play from week to week.
Yeah, I think this one was interesting because it wasn't like Atlanta had this in the bag. I mean, that was a 51-yard field goal
Yep.
as the clock ran out, like that it was a walk-off win. I mean, Desmond Ritter turned the ball over 3 times. Like one
Yeah,
of
I
them
mean, at
was
least he
at the
was clutch.
pylon, like a Tampa Bay touchback. Like, cool, that's great. And the other two were in the red zone. Like, that sucks,
Three
man.
fumbles lost. He needs to protect the ball.
He
Yeah.
needs to protect the ball. This game should not have been that close. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, we know what the Baker Mayfield situation looks like. We know how that experience has gone over the years. He sometimes has tough games. I'm not sure what's going on there. So far this season, we're happy for him. He's playing well. He seems to be a good fit in Tampa Bay. It's been a little tough this week though. Um,
Yeah.
it was not his best week. He had a couple good scrambles there, but he missed Chris Goodwin twice on really solid situations there that would have led to a touchdown, and then got sacked on third down there. So, yeah,
Mhm.
being forced to settle for a field goal when you're in the red zone multiple times and then not hitting open receivers, that's the negative aspects of Baker Mayfield that we have seen on previous teams that we were hoping he was past. So I hope it's just a rough week for him and they pull it together for next week.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be 2 weeks in a row, right? Like I felt like the Bucks played well enough to be in that game with the Lions, but Baker just missed on a couple deep balls that if those are caught, the game's completely different. And so it's frustrating to see that happening 2 weeks in a row. The Bucks, they're still in it. They're 3-3, but you need to win these important divisional games early in the year, and in conference games. I mean, maybe they'll get it going later on in the year, but right now they're going through a rough patch, and it's worrisome for this Bucks team, and that NFC South is so wide open. Like, do we trust the Bucks, the Saints, the Falcons? Definitely not Carolina, right?
Yeah, they're the only team without a win so far this season, so we don't trust them. What I think is interesting is these two teams that we've just talked about coming up short this week who have stuff to prove, they play each other on Thursday. So we've got
Yeah,
Tampa Bay at Buffalo. I will be so intrigued to see how that game goes together
yeah,
because those are my, non-Packers two favorite teams to watch, two favorite quarterbacks. I mean, Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield. I love watching both of them. Um, so I'll be really excited for that Thursday night game, which is a very strange thing to say because Thursday night football is generally a dumpster fire. But this Thursday we could have quite a show, so I'm intrigued.
yeah, and it's very meaningful football, right? Two teams at or slightly above 500, needing wins. Like, no
Mhm.
one wants to be under 500. Both teams think that they're a better team than they are so far,
Yeah,
and
they
trying to
both
bounce
lost
back.
this week. Yeah,
Yeah,
we got
it's
shit to
gonna,
prove. It should be a good game for sure.
yeah, absolutely. So let's go to Alex's call of the week. The Lions
Okay.
at the Ravens. How about that one, Amanda?
So can I just say the only reason I picked the Lions is because you came into it really cocky. If you'd been like, yeah, I think the Ravens are gonna win, I'd be like, well, duh, I think the Ravens are gonna win too. But you're like, no, guarantee of the week, there's no fucking way. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll pick the Lions then. I should have. I mean, I had picked the Ravens until you started running your mouth, and then I just like when you're really wrong.
Yeah, no, I was
Yeah,
setting myself up. If I had lost that one, I would have to own it.
yeah,
But it's the Lions, right? They're bound to trip up at some
yeah.
point.
And
And
the
I
Ravens
really,
are definitely a team to do that.
yes, I really like this Ravens team. And no David Montgomery, that definitely played a
Mhm.
role for Detroit as well. But even I did not see this game being 38-6. I thought
No,
this would be a hard fought. I thought the Lions would make it interesting for sure. But the
yeah,
Ravens kicked their ass.
they did. They had a rough week in Detroit. Well, not
Yeah.
in Detroit, but Detroit had a rough week in Baltimore. What I think is cool though, on National Tight Ends Day, Mark Andrews, Baltimore
Yeah.
Ravens tight end. I mean, beautiful pair of touchdowns. Like it good for him on his little celebratory holiday. But Lamar Jackson,
Yes.
357 yards, three touchdowns, 36 yards, a rushing touchdown for him. I mean, MVP right there. Like that was such a great game for him.
Hmm.
And the Ravens also became the first team to score a touchdown on each of their first four drives in a game this season. Um, and that's a really hard deficit to come back from when you're facing a team that just scores the first four times they touch the ball. So I think the Lions kind of got in their heads there. And I mean, this was one of those weeks where, any given Sunday, the Lions had a slightly off day, the Ravens were on fire, and the game was just decided from the very beginning.
Yeah, and I love this game not just because I picked it and I was ballsy about it, so I'm glad it worked out. But I was rooting for this Ravens team. This is my AFC team, the Baltimore Ravens. I love the way they're built. And to me, I was going to ask Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, that might be the best he's looked in his career or close to it. Like, he looks like he's hitting his stride as a decision maker,
Hmm.
with the run versus the pass. And a couple times in that game where they did fake runs with Lamar, like he's coming out, like he's going to go, it's a designed quarterback run. And then Mark Andrews or the running back Gus Edwards will slip out and he'll hit them and they'll be behind the defense and like go damn near for a touchdown every time.
Oh, that
So
80-yard catch and run by Gus Edwards is
yeah,
stunning. It was beautiful.
yeah. So Todd Munkin seems to be hitting his stride here and Lamar on the offense at the same time. And it just worked out for this one game. But one thing, there's a reason why. I don't just hate Jared Goff for no reason or dislike his game or whatever. There's a reason behind it. And I don't trust him in big games, especially late in the year. And in the elements like the rain or the snow or whatever, in this game, it was extra windy
Hmm.
and you could just see it in Goff's throws. Were coming up short, were wobbly as hell, throwing a couple ducks, and it's like there's a reason why the Lions kind of got their ass kicked in this one.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare how the two quarterbacks looked, like Jackson, he was not flinching when defenders got close to him. He trusted his O-line. He was taking his time. He was thinking things through. He was looking for receivers. He was patient. Goff was jittery. He was jumpy.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the level of comfort on the field this week was vastly different, and it definitely showed in that final score.
Yeah, and it looked like he was kind of trying to force feed it to Amon-Ra.
Mhm.
Inaccurate on some passes to Laporta, like, and
Yeah.
then on top of it, you're down 28-0, and I think Dan Campbell decided to go for it like twice on fourth down and two turnovers on downs to just keep the 28-0 lead forever. And it's like you're not gonna come back doing shit like that, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs came back. He helped him avoid the shutout. He got his 21
Hmm.
yard rushing touchdown, so good for him there. But speaking of rushing, the Ravens put up 146 rush yards against the Lions.
Yeah,
Entering this game, the Lions had the NFL's #1 rush defense. So
that
no team had hit 100 plus rush yards against the Lions all season. They had
that's
100 at
impressive.
halftime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
it's amazing what happens when the Lions play a legitimate offense.
Yeah,
On
and
a bad day for them because
and
oof.
that's leading me to my follow up of maybe now we can quiet down on the Super Bowl talk for a team that's 5-2, and look who's suddenly playing better, which we'll talk about here in a few, is the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm.
So let's not jump to anoint this Lions team as some great 1998 Vikings lookalike, and let's just watch football and not overreact to everything. How about that, Pro Football Talk?
Yeah, they're the only ones who are saying that about the Lions, though. So
Yeah,
casual fans are just appreciative that they're above 500, 500. So, well,
yeah. They're still a very good team. It should be a fun season if you're a Lions fan.
yeah, it should be. So speaking of
So.
fun seasons, you said going into this week that Stafford looked like a sitting duck. You have this 3-2 Steelers going to the 3-3 Rams. How did you feel about the Steelers pulling off this win?
um, I mean, it was about how I thought it would go. Like the defense, T.J. Watt picking off Matthew Stafford, getting pressure on him. It's a low scoring, ugly game, but the Steelers did enough to get it done. And I don't trust the Rams. I don't trust Stafford. And where was Cooper Kupp in this game? Puka Nakua gets force fed, but um, I just felt like the Steelers were the better team, especially defensively. And yeah, like I said, Stafford's kind of a sitting duck.
Yeah, he was wide open for
Yeah.
just getting the smackdown. What I think is interesting too is, I mean, it was a 7 point game, but the Rams kicker, Brett Maher, I mean, we've seen him have issues in the past,
Hmm.
but he seemed to have moved beyond them. He seemed pretty solid so far this year. He doinked a 53-yarder, left off upright, missed an extra point, missed another field goal. I mean, I don't know if you're keeping count there, but that's 7 points.
Yeah.
So their kicker cut them down 7 points. It should have been a tie game.
Yeah.
The only kick he did make was a 41-yard field goal.
Yeah. And you can't do shit like that. And did you see what the Rams did on Monday?
I mean, yeah,
They cut his ass.
yeah. I'm just
Brett
saying,
Maher. Brett Maher's gone. They signed Lucas Havrasik,
yeah.
who's never attempted an NFL field goal
I was
or
just
kick.
gonna say, I mean, it's one thing to cut a player and have somebody lined up. It'll be intriguing to see how he does being signed off the street like that. We'll see.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, who the hell is this kid? Like, can he kick? You better hope so, you
I
know?
don't know. And we've seen some kickers come in and play pretty well, so it'll be fun to keep track of his stats moving forward. But in this
Yeah.
game, shout out to Deontay Johnson for Pittsburgh. His first
Hmm.
game back from an injury. He definitely found his footing in this game. He had a 39-yard catch and run. I mean, it got their game tying touchdown drive going. He got 5 passes for 79 yards, 6 targets. I mean, he was playing very well. It was his highest receiving yards of his time that he spent with Kenny Pickett so far. So good for him.
Nice. Yeah, and that was probably vital in getting this win against a good team in their house. Like they always do, Steeler fans traveled really well, so
Mhm.
you know they kind of took over SoFi Stadium. Um, but yeah, what do you think about these teams' outlook? The Steelers are 4-2, probably a little better than a lot of people thought they'd be at this point in the season. And then the Rams fall to 3-4, home loss. I don't see the Rams making the playoffs, do you?
Oh, I think the Rams Super Bowl appearance was a fluke. I think it just, the wind blew in their favor. I think that that team that we saw is done.
Yeah.
I have been presently surprised by the Steelers. And I do know their schedule is pretty gentle coming forward, so they should definitely be putting some more wins under their belt. I mean, they've got the Jaguars coming to them, the Titans coming to them, Green Bay. Do they have three home games in a row? Yeah, Green Bay coming to
Yeah.
them, and then they go to Cleveland. So they've
Okay.
got 3 weeks to relax and kick it and chill before they have a challenging opponent again.
Jack, I know you said Jacksonville in Pittsburgh, right?
Yes, and I see
That's
Pittsburgh
a
pulling that one off.
Hey, if they don't show up, Jacksonville's gonna come in there and steal that one. They better be ready.
I don't know. With the way these two teams have played the past couple weeks, I can see Pittsburgh running away with that one.
Ooh, we might have to make picks on that one, but
We're going to. Well, just not this episode.
all right, let's
Tune in this
go.
weekend to hear us talk shit again and pick that game.
Let's go Cardinals Seahawks, where we were both right, and it's pretty obvious, right? It's a talent issue. The Seahawks kept it surprisingly close, though. It was 10-7 and 10-7 Cardinals actually in the first half, but Seattle pulls away, wins 20-10. Um, Seahawks had to make some kind of crazy plays in order to
Hmm.
get this done, and the Cardinals aren't very good, so it is a little concerning that the Seahawks kept it this close.
I will say that DK Metcalf being out, I think definitely shifted the offense, and they were trying to work out where to put people in
Mm-hmm.
Seattle. I could definitely feel the void of Metcalf being out. Um, what was cool though is Jake Bobo now has 2 touchdowns in that game, and
Who?
both of them, Jake Bobo, he's got the
We're gonna have to
stupidest name in
figure
the
out who this
NFL,
guy is.
stupidest
Yeah,
name.
it's crazy.
But yeah, the fact that they had to review both of them for minutes, like they were long reviews. It wasn't like, oh, quick replay, yeah, that was a touchdown. They were staring at that tape, replaying over and over and over before they're like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how he caught that, but he caught that. Yeah, that's a touchdown. Um, so he's gonna be fun to watch as he goes through his career because he just seems to make some unbelievable plays, like his toe tapping grabs in the end zone. Like he's gonna be a fun player to watch those replays and those highlights on. I expect to see him in like the top 10 plays of the week lineup pretty often.
Yeah, and how about the Seahawks in the draft, right? Both rookie wide receivers, Bobo and Jackson Smith and Jigbo, went off, had
Hmm.
solid games, made really good plays. And then Kenneth Walker, who they drafted, they fed him the ball a lot. 26 carries for 105 yards, got him over 100 yards, stuck with him, and were able to kind of like grind and you know, slow grind a win against, a Cardinals team that came to play. But those are the type of games you have to win, right?
Yeah, especially I mean, in this situation, the Cardinals defense came to play. Seattle
Mm-hmm.
had 3 turnovers. And the
Yeah.
Cardinals definitely, I mean, it wasn't like they were just bad throws. Like the Cardinals defense went after the ball and they got it. What sucks is that their offense can't do anything with that. The Cardinals
Mm-hmm.
offense just doesn't have the talent to convert that. 3 turnovers turned into 3 points.
Yeah, it's not going to get it done.
And then the Cardinals offense didn't throw any picks because they weren't really throwing the ball in general. But I mean, it's the first time the Seahawks have won a game with a turnover margin of -3 since week 9 of 2013. It's been almost a decade since they've won a game with 3 turnovers when the other team didn't have any.
Yeah,
So
and that just goes to show you how bad the Cardinals are, right?
I was
What
just going to
happens
say
if
those
you,
exact words.
yeah, if you don't turn the ball over 3 times, what's the final score? And that's
Yeah.
without DK Metcalf. So yeah, I think the Cardinals, the moral of the story is the Cardinals are really bad, and the Seahawks should be a playoff team.
Yeah.
and we'll see what they can do. But it does suck. The Seahawks lose linebacker Uchenna Nwosu to a torn pectoral. He's out for the season.
Man.
Coming off a career high in sacks last year. But so this sucks. This is a tough loss for Seattle.
Yeah. Speaking of tough losses, I will introduce the next game. We had the 2-3 Packers going into the 1-5 Broncos. Broncos pulled this one off 19-17. It looked like the Packers should have had a chance to win it at the end, but our offense is a shit show and they can't do anything to ever score, apparently. So yeah, the 1-5 Broncos pulled off their second win of the season. So
That that was
good for
crazy.
them.
And how about the Packers comeback though, and the two touchdowns they scored? I mean, this game was not without drama.
I mean, there was drama, but the Packers found a way to lose. So what else is new? We're now 2-4. I bet the NFC North is just stoked in general. But I mean, this is Sean Payton's first home win as the coach of the Broncos. So that had to
Yeah,
feel good, finally finding his stride at home. It also snapped the Denver streak of 10 consecutive losses when they were leading at halftime.
damn.
That's gotta be annoying as hell. Be like, yeah, we're up. We got, oh no, we lost again. Like, I'm just like trying to picture that, like 10 games in a row, you're up at halftime and then you lose.
Just dysfunction,
It's
and
so bad.
it's been that way for a minute. But a big home win, a battle of two bad teams in
Oh,
reality,
awesome. I mean, entering this
and
week, the Broncos defense was allowing the most points and yards per game in the NFL. They were 32nd and 32nd. The Packers still couldn't pull off a win. Like, come on.
well,
No
so
points in the first half of the game. Come on.
Green Bay needs to go back to what was working. They looked a lot better the first couple games of the season. I don't know, but Jordan Love has looked bad. I'll say that he has not
Well,
looked good in three straight games now.
so I will say he has had moments of hope
Yeah,
and success. We have only our offense has only played half a game every game this season. You can go back and look at the scores, half a game. Whether it's the
hmm
first half and then we give the game away in the second half, or we don't put any points up till the second half, Green Bay has yet to play 4 quarters of football, and it is infuriating.
yeah. And so it's a young roster, right, or a young offensive core.
Hmm.
So that's definitely something. But there's a lot more pressure on Matt LaFleur, and this might be getting to see who Matt LaFleur really is because Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams can mask a lot of play caller errors, and Aaron Rodgers at the line can change plays, right? He has a lot of freedom like that, so there's a lot less pressure on Matt LaFleur now with a young quarterback and young receivers and tight ends. It's a lot more pressure on him, and maybe that's playing a part in it. I don't know.
I saw something. I wish I could credit who wrote it, but I went to send it to you and then my screen refreshed and it went away. But it said that the Packers don't miss Aaron Rodgers on the field. The Packers miss Aaron Rodgers at practice, in the huddle, on
Yeah,
the mics. They miss him helping design play calls and talking to the
yeah,
coaches and coordinating with them. They miss
yeah,
all the things he did off of
yeah,
the field for that
yeah.
team.
Yeah, I believe that 100%. And you're seeing the impact he's having with the Jets. And so that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Um, and we'll see if Green Bay can bounce back. Or, like you said, you had no expectations going into the season. So I don't think a lot of people know. Like me as a Bears fan, I think the Packers are going to be bad this year. Some
Yeah.
people thought the Packers could make the playoffs. None of us know. And
Yeah.
we need to see it unfold in front of us. But so a lot of questions are going to get answered in Green Bay this season. And then you can use that information to go in whichever direction you want to go, after this season, right?
Yeah, I will say the highlight of this game was Aaron Jones being back. Only 35
hmm
yards, but I'll take it. It was really nice to have him back on the field. And he and AJ Dillon are such a good 1-2 punch for that rushing game for Green Bay. So that was
Do they
pretty
need to
nice.
use them more?
I mean, when your receivers can only catch one out of every 4 passes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Feed the running backs, right?
Mhm.
Like, and that's on the floor. Like
Yeah.
you got to play your strengths, and I would be running the ball like crazy. I said that preseason too.
Yeah. And then I
Um,
will say, I mean, Denver pulled off this win, but Cortland Sutton has become
hmm
such a key point of that offense for Denver.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, beautiful.
J
Their
Jerry
connection.
Judy has failed to become the star second piece next to him, but Cortland Sutton should be the number one go-to offensive weapon for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so far this season, he has 5 touchdown passes. He had
hmm
4 touchdown passes that he caught in his last 37 games prior to this season.
Wow.
Like, I don't know what he was doing previously and why he wasn't connecting and, he wasn't thought of that way, but he is such a key part of that offense. He's like his connection with Russell Wilson is great. And, we've seen the media and the narrative about Jerry Jeudy. People like to run their
Yeah,
mouths about him, but this is one of those situations, and I'm like, for damn good reason. Like, why haven't we been using this guy before? So,
yeah,
I think it's one of those situations where the big name gets all the attention, but he's not the most productive on the team.
yeah. And I think it also points to a lack of weapons, truly there in Denver, like reliable go-to weapons outside of Cortland Sutton. I like Javonte Williams, but besides those two, I think Russell Wilson misses Tyler Lockett, who he
Mhm.
had tremendous chemistry with, and even DK Metcalf, right?
Yeah.
And Metcalf is probably so easy to throw open, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a giant. Like, just throw the
Yeah,
ball up. His monster hands will find it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's go Chargers Chiefs. Game was actually tied 17 all in the first half. It looked like it was going to be a shootout.
Hmm.
Both defenses were allowing big play after big play. But then the Chiefs defense tightened up and the Chiefs pull away to win 31-17. And the biggest thing I came away from this game is saying, how are you not double or triple teaming Travis Kelce? Like, honestly, I don't get it. It's a Devontae Adams thing all over again, but don't let that guy beat you. If Valdez Scantling goes for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns and you lose, so be it. Travis Kelce's not going to beat me. And he goes for 12 catches, 179 yards, and a touchdown.
Well, and here's the thing, though. If you cover Travis Kelce, we have seen MVS historically. He can
Yeah.
make some big plays, but he
Yep.
also is known for his drops. That is
Yeah.
why he's no longer in Green Bay, because he will make a beautiful play and then he'll drop an open touchdown pass.
Yeah.
So,
Make the rookies and MVS and the young guys prove it, right? We know
exactly.
Kelsey's a star.
Yeah, well, speaking of Travis Kelce, I just have to say this. The Chiefs are 4-0 in games that she has gone to.
Oh my God.
So
No
somebody's showing off for
more.
his new girl. Um, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes had a great game. Shocking, I know. 424 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like, shock.
Yeah.
No one is surprised by that. Um, Hardman came back, his first game back with the Chiefs since being traded back from the Jets. 6-yard pass, returned to punt 50 yards, which was fun to see because we don't see a lot of good punt returns anymore. He made a
Yeah.
great tackle, so I think he's gonna settle right back into his home there.
Yeah. In one game, he's matched his entire production this year with the Jets with one
Mhm.
catch. It's
I mean,
crazy. I don't
we've
know why the Jets weren't using him, but yeah, he has to be happy to be back in Kansas City with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Um, what do you think of this Chargers defense? It looks pretty bad. I mean, if Brandon Staley is a defensive head coach, you have Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. Why do you think it looks so bad at times?
I think it's one of these things where they have the talent, but it's not being used properly. They're on some injuries. Injuries. I know Herbert's got his finger injury, which he's still trying to
Yeah,
play through. I can see it. Like
yeah,
you can see it on the field affecting him. Um,
yeah,
so it's one of those situations where you take a hard hit and then your finger is throbbing and it's hard to like, keep your head fully in the game. And I mean the Chiefs are a tough team to play. That
yeah. In
stadium is
Arrowhead.
Yeah, that stadium is loud. It is crazy. I mean, Taylor Swift is there, so suddenly they have all these new fans who didn't give a shit about football a month ago. Um, so I think it's just one of those situations where the better team won. No one was surprised by this game. Looking at the final score, no one is surprised. Looking at the halftime score, I didn't think it was going to be that close. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think it's, it definitely just shows which team is better in the situation and who is coached better and where the playmakers are lining up with the plays and the play calls are, utilizing those talents because the Chargers just aren't showing up in the second half of the game. And we've seen them do that a couple other times this season.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are, I've said it multiple times, I think they're very poorly coached, not just situationally, being too aggressive and doing stupid stuff like that, but I think they're poorly coached in the locker room. And I think that the defense is Brandon Staley's unit, his side of the ball. And for it to be that bad with that much talent on it is saying a lot about Brandon Staley. And then when he's going for it on fourth down and costing his team games on the offensive side of the ball, I don't see how he hasn't lost the locker room a while ago. Like, credit to the Chargers for staying as loyal as you have, but I think it's been time to fire Brandon Staley, and maybe this year they're finally going to understand it and see that.
Yeah, maybe this off season with a low record is what they need to be
Yeah,
honest with themselves.
and you're costing yourself with a talent like Justin Herbert. I mean, although he has looked a little less elite of late, he's still a very talented quarterback, and I would like to see him with offensive head coach, a proven,
Hmm.
like a Shanahan or a McVay or something like that.
Yeah, I
So,
think he needs a better situation built around him.
hmm,
Those play calls are not doing him any favor. The talent on that team is being wasted for sure.
yeah, absolutely. So let's go Dolphins Eagles on Sunday Night Football. First of all, what do you think of those Eagles throwbacks? I loved them. The Kelly Green.
Oh, I love the Kelly Green.
Yeah,
It's so good. That's one of my favorite throwbacks. We like the creamsicles just because they're, unique, but the Kelly Green is just such a good uniform. It's classic, it's clean.
yep.
Love those.
Do you think someone was saying that they should make those the number one uniform? Do you think so?
I hate teal, so yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 100% teal's my well, besides purple, my least favorite color. I just think it's a stupid color. So
Well, I knew, especially once I saw the Eagles, I was confident about this game and the picks, about
mhm.
Philly being at home and a tough test for the Dolphins. Once I saw them in the Kelly Green, I was like, oh, this is a wrap. I was very confident. And to their credit, the Dolphins tied the game at 17 all, but then the Eagles made the plays in the clutch, pulled away, and won 31-17. Um, I find it hard to believe anyone was going to beat Philly on Sunday night.
Yeah. I mean, we both picked the Eagles in this one. Yeah, two 5-1 teams. It should be a great matchup. Yeah.
Hmm.
One of these teams is not like the other. The Dolphins play really well against shitty teams.
Yep.
And we've seen that throughout the season, but the Eagles are just a well-rounded, just great team. Both sides of the ball, their coaching is solid. So yeah, I mean, maybe the Kelly Green uniforms are magical or something. It's been 13 years since they've worn them. But that Dolphins offense, top-ranked offense in the NFL, it's easy to pull off when you put up 70 on the Broncos. But they did not show up for this game. They
Yeah.
had 17
Yeah.
points, right? 244 total yards, 199 passing yards, 45 rushing yards. Season lows across the board for them. Um,
Hmm.
and I mean, it was the first time seeing Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa face off against each other. It should have been a great matchup. It looked like it was going to be, and yeah, it was not.
Yeah, you take away that fluky Jerome Baker pick six. I mean, it was a great play by him, but you take away that defensive score, and the Dolphins only have 10 points.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like that's the Dolphins' offense when you go up against a real, top five elite defense like the Eagles, who are healthy and have size and speed, and so they were able to impact the game in a big way. Jalen Carter, Darius Slay, uh, and the Eagles' offensive line did an excellent job, and um, it was just a fun game to watch. As I think the Eagles and 49ers and maybe the Chiefs are true contenders, maybe the Ravens, but the Dolphins to me are in that second tier, more
Mhm.
like a wild card team that could get beat early in the playoffs. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think we see teams who are better than their records, and this is definitely a
Yeah,
team who is way worse than their record.
yeah.
I can name 4 or 5 teams who are better than them just off the top of my head. But I just want to mention in this game, beyond that pick six, that was a bad, bad pick six. Like Jalen Hurts did not throw that anywhere near anyone on his team. It was, it was bad. But on top
Yeah.
of that, he also fumbled. He was walking with a brace on,
Hmm.
and he still stayed focused and pulled the win off pretty solidly. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, he is a resilient quarterback and he keeps his head in the game, and that's who you want. That's who you can rally around. So
Yeah.
I think that was just kind of beautiful to watch because I mean, some players, I mean, we see players with injured fingers who can't throw the ball straight for an entire game. My man had a brace on, and they said,
Hmm.
"Oh, we're not worried about that. Never mind. He's just gonna go play." And he did, and he played well.
Yeah, and how about AJ Brown? Will look like a complete monster in this game, and
He had a
it helps that
game.
it helps to have weapons like that. And I mean, wouldn't you consider, based on what we saw on Sunday night, AJ Brown's one of the best receivers in the game? I mean, right there in the conversation with anyone, right?
I mean, a couple years back, they were talking about, how he was available, and I was just trying to mentally convince the Packers to go after him, and
Yeah.
obviously that didn't work out. And I need to just take over management in Green Bay because it is disgusting to see players that we passed on perform so well. It pisses me off. But
Yeah.
yeah, he had a great game. That 32-yard catch he received from Hurts, it was insane because Hurts had that ball forever and he was scrambling and he was, ducking sacks and trying to get the ball out. AJ Brown just stayed focused on him the whole time and adjusted where he was on the field. He did not break eye contact. He
Yep.
was, dodging defenders. And then, he waited long enough. He waited it out. A lot of receivers we've seen this season just give up on a play before the quarterback has time to get the ball out. They're like, oh, he's going to get sacked. Never mind. He was
Hmm.
dedicated and it was a beautiful play.
Yeah. Yeah. I love to have, AJ Brown's one of those guys you want on your team, in your locker room. Um, he just wants to win, and I think that he's going to give it his all on the field for sure. And we've seen him, earlier this year, like getting upset, but I think, for not getting the ball, but I think he cares that much that he's going to be demanded, like, look, get me involved in the offense and we'll be a better unit because of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, he just recorded his fifth straight 125-yard plus game. So he tied
Mm.
Calvin Johnson and Pat Studstill for the
Well,
longest streak in league history. So good for him.
yeah. Yeah, that Eagles team is now the Niners are coming back down to earth a little bit. The Eagles are looking like they could be the favorites in the NFC. And let's talk about the Niners, who we both assumed were going to have an easy win on Monday Night Football, but not the case, huh?
I mean, they should have. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. We have seen Kirk Cousin pull off some wins that he shouldn't have pulled off. I mean, we were going back and forth with the Kirk gifs and the memes and the you like that and the Kirko chains. I mean,
Yeah.
San Francisco got their butts kirked. I don't know what else there is to say on that. He maybe it was just, the universe being mad at the Niners for having, one of the best tight ends in the league playing on Monday night instead of on National Tight Ends Day. I don't know. Uh, but it was a weird game.
Yeah, and the thing that I saw that stood out to me, I mean, multiple things. Kirk Cousins played the game of his life. He balled out. He played great and gave the Vikings, a chance to win that game. And even though they almost blew it in the end, but he fought them in the game, and Kirk Cousins has the ability to do that. As much time as we spend shitting on Kirk Cousins for his bad games, he also has the ability to do this. So that's why teams like the Vikings get bought in and their fans get bought in on Cousins because, because it's there sometimes. And it's crazy to see when it does, especially against such a good defense in San Francisco. But the biggest story of this that I saw was Brock Purdy struggling for 2 weeks in a row now
Yeah.
and throwing the game ending pick. And so, I mean, that's a little bit concerning, I think, more than anything.
Well, I think the combination of that and then the morale
Hmm.
destruction of your rookie kicker missing that kick.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Purdy's definitely had a tough couple weeks. I said 2.5 weeks ago on the podcast that I think people needed to start recognizing that he wasn't a weak spot on their team. He was another
Hmm.
benefit to their team. And I mean, he's had a tough couple weeks. He he has the talent, it's there. He's normally very calm, composed, but he was feeling the pressure Monday night. And I mean, there were some throws that, man, he looked like he was just, I don't know, stressed out or something, because some of those throws were dangerous. And
Yeah.
yeah, his
Well,
interceptions were ugly. He he threw to where he thought his receivers would be, but they were not
yes.
there, and he still threw it there. Like, I don't know what he was seeing, but I mean, it was pretty bad.
Well, he doesn't have the arm strength, the arm talent to be, he's not CJ Stroud or Joe Burrow or Trevor Lawrence. That's why he was drafted so late. But the reason he's been so successful is protecting the football, running the 49er, the Shanahan offense, and his IQ, dissecting plays and making the right decision with the football, with his throws. And so some of them are timing routes. And on that one, the dude got like slipped and got knocked off his route. And even if he had run his route perfectly, it probably would have been, it was a bad throw. And that one got intercepted. And
Are you talking
then,
about Jennings?
yeah,
Yeah, that Jennings drew. I literally stared at that and like replayed it like 3 times, and I was like, what
it,
was that?
it was far too in front, far too
Yeah.
ahead.
Um, After the game, Shanahan explained he was like, no, he threw it to where the route was supposed to be. Like that was the route he was supposed to run. I'm like, but he didn't run it.
Yeah,
Like
just
I
defending his quarterback.
Yeah, but
But
that's such a weird defense.
yeah, no, I
Like
mean,
like I mean, of all the things to say, like, oh, he thought there was going to be a receiver there, so he just threw it into, behind enemy lines. Like, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. Like he'd have been like, yeah, he
and
didn't see anybody, so he just chucked it. That would have made more sense.
and I could live with that interception. That one wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't even really bring it up today. If he had been clutch and led the
Anywhere
team down
else.
for a game-winning touchdown, but to throw that second pick to end the game,
Hmm.
that lost it for me, right? That's like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean McCaffrey had a good game. I mean, he had,
Yeah.
his touchdowns. They missed Deebo Samuel for sure. What's
Yeah.
interesting in this matchup is I thought Justin Jefferson was going to be such an issue for Minnesota. Missing him, I know Jordan Addison is good as well, but I think
Hmm.
uh, what I had perceived as the absence of Justin Jefferson being such an issue for Minnesota, they did not care. Maybe they played better without him. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what happened there. Maybe he's bad for the locker room or something because they balled out without him.
No, I mean Jefferson is great. He's
No,
elite.
he's
You
great.
you
He's
want him
amazing.
there. I know you're joking there, but like Jordan Addison is very good too. And coming out of USC, like that's why I was like, damn, like him and Justin Jefferson, that's pretty good. So this was his breakout game, and it was nice to see. It's finally we're seeing it, but
Mhm.
this is Kirk Cousins' game. Like Jordan Addison
Yeah.
can get open, T.J. Hawkinson can get open, but Cousins was throwing dimes, And
He
that's what
played
allowed
so
these guys
well.
to have great games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of their issues with how they started the season, they started 0-4. They
Hmm.
were getting in their own way. They were, making really bad turnovers, missing open receivers. Like their turnover margin was insane. Worst team in the football when it came to turnover margin. But the last couple weeks, we have seen them, fix some of these issues and actually address the things they said they were going to address. And a lot of teams are like, yeah, we need to be better. Green Bay has said that this entire season. And then, they're like, hey, how are you feeling? You lost after a bye week. Like, what happened? Like, what do you think changed? And our coach is like, nothing changed. Obviously, we still suck. Like, this team is actually addressing their issues as they go. I mean, they're +4 turnover margin in their last two games. Their
Hmm.
defense allowed 15 points per game in the last 2 weeks. I mean, Cousins has been really good. I think that their coaching and their setup is actually fixing the issues that they had and filling in the holes and building around Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and offensive line play, right?
So
A
good.
shocking stat from this game, we know how elite the 49ers defense is. Recorded 0 sacks on 45 Kirk Cousins dropbacks.
Jesus.
So you protect a quarterback like that and get him feeling confident and in rhythm and feeling himself, and you're going to get a night like that from Kirk Cousins and Jordan Addison and the whole offense. So credit to the Vikings O line for sure,
Yeah.
and then credit to what's his name, the D Brian Flores, the Vikings DC
Hmm.
has they. We talked about they lost so many pieces on that defense, and they're playing really well actually.
Yeah. I'm they're a team who has been losing players but still getting better, which I would love
Yeah.
to know the formula for that because we have some
Yeah.
teams who could definitely take some lessons.
What do you think of this team? Is it too early to hand the division to the Lions, or should we wait and see what this Vikings team can do?
I think the NFC North is a hot mess, and I'm just gonna wait till, week 12, week 13 to start making calls on that because I have no idea.
You know where the Vikings play in Week 8?
I don't want to talk about it.
It's a chance to beat them
Ugh, it's
in
gonna be
Lambeau.
bad. No, there's Green Bay is so bad. We get worse at how do you go into a bye week with 6 players on the injury report and come out of the bye week with 13?
Yeah, you were like, what the fuck? Like,
Like literally what? Like Green Bay is so bad. And it's okay. We're rebuilding. However, when we expect to be shitty and then there are, a couple good games at the beginning of the season and then there's almost comebacks in every single fucking game, like stop giving me hope and then pissing me off again. Like just suck if you're gonna suck, okay? Have a rebuilding season. Just, cut it out. The moments of hope really fuck me up. But yeah, I think Minnesota is if they play anything like they played this week, it's gonna be like 40-3 because that Green Bay offense is hot garbage.
no, it'll be a good game. Green Bay might actually win it, honestly. The Vikings are also so up and down,
Well, that's why I
right?
said if they played like they did this weekend,
Yeah.
which who knows? Also, Green Bay has a couple really solid wins under their belt. So, if they play like they do when they play well and Minnesota plays like they play when they play shitty, but this season teams are so hot and cold. I don't know
Hmm.
how to I don't know how to predict any games this season at this point because there are two variations of teams and you don't know who's showing up each week.
I'm looking at the Vikings schedule, the remaining schedule right now, and it is not that hard.
Mm-mm.
Like every game is winnable outside of maybe week 15 at the Bengals. And maybe that's even winnable. But their whole schedule's winnable, especially if they play like that, right? So we'll see if they can maybe sneak into the playoffs at 9-8, maybe challenge Detroit for the division. We'll see.
Yeah, well, speaking of challenging people, we touched on this a little bit earlier. Let's talk about Thursday night.
Yeah, I can't wait for this game.
I'm so stoked on it. I think it's going to be such a great game. And I love saying that about Thursday night because Thursday night is generally not worth watching. But got the Buccaneers coming into town against the Bills, 3-3 team at a 4-3 team. They both coming off rough losses. They've got something to prove. Two quarterbacks who have had, some highs in their careers and some lows. I mean, these are my favorite two quarterbacks to watch.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have quarterbacks who are better producers, MVP status, but these two just have so much passion and they're interesting to watch because you never know which version of them you're going to get. So it keeps it interesting. Like, oh, Jalen Hurts is great again. Shocker. Like, oh, Patrick Mahomes, MVP, weird. No, these two, they're just fun. Like, I, which version are you getting
And
today? No clue.
and it's a very meaningful game. Like
Mhm.
3-3 at 4-3, both teams playing some bad football of late. So this is a get right game and very important for whoever wins this is going to feel a lot better about themselves going forward. Um, I know who I'm going to pick. Do you know?
I just want to mention really quick before we make our picks that so if you're familiar with the Buffalo Bills Stadium, it's kind of weird. It's like in the suburbs. Um,
Uh-huh.
because it's a weekday
Orchard
game,
Park. Yeah.
yeah, they're releasing all of their schools in the district at noon. So all the students can be home and safe away from Bills Mafia,
That's awesome.
right?
The small town shit like Green Bay and Orchard Park.
Yeah, we gotta make sure our kids are home because the folding tables might be out to get them at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
So make your pick because I'm intrigued to hear who you're picking here.
well, we just talked about it. The passionate fans, the folding chairs, the Bills Mafia. That's a hell of a home field. Um, if both teams playing at their best, I think the Bills are the better team, maybe slightly, but still.
Yeah.
And we don't know who's going to show up to this game, so it is kind of a toss up. But being at home, being that I think they're the better team, give me the Bills at home. Um, but I think it could be a good game. There
Yeah.
should be.
So I would pick the Bills outright, but what's holding me back is Tampa Bay has been winning games on the road.
Mm-hmm.
All three of their losses are home losses. So that's a stat that I'm very intrigued by.
Well, I'm also mad at the Bucks because I picked them 2 weeks in a row and they lost
Same.
2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
So right now they got to prove it to me. If they go into Buffalo and get a road win, then I'll probably pick them in week 9. But
Yeah.
I'm mad at them, so let's go Bills.
Yeah, I gotta pick the Bills here just because I mean Josh Allen has lost a couple weeks in a row, but Baker Mayfield has had one touchdown and two interceptions the past 2 weeks combined.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's not a stat you can win a game in Buffalo on.
yeah, and missing some throws, being a little inaccurate. Like we trust Josh Allen more probably right now.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm
So,
gonna pick Buffalo at home for this one, but it should be a fun game.
yeah, I hope so. I hope it's a one-score game and Baker plays his best. So it's a fun one.
Yeah, I want to see some lead changes, some neck and neck. Yeah, should be a fun game, hopefully.
Yeah, I want to see Levante David, no, Antoine Winfield Jr. pick six.
Okay. I'm gonna write that down so I can
But,
check you on that
but
later.
yeah, I was wrong on my Roquan pick. But did you see Asante Samuel punch the ball out of Desmond Ritter
Yeah. It was so
right
good.
before the end zone? That was so cool.
It was so cool.
Yeah, he's a baller.
Yeah, he's everything you thought he was gonna be. So
Yeah, 100%.
he,
So
he's been on your list and you've been dead right about him. So
I appreciate that. I'm trying to get my draft stock up.
okay, I got you, I got you. I'll
But
give you kudos when you
appreciate.
get shit right. I will also throw you under the bus when you get shit wrong. So
Yeah, and I've been done plenty of that this year, so it's about damn time I got to win.
same. God, I am like nauseous at how bad my picks were this week. But I think everyone's were bad. So
Yeah, it's one of those weeks. No one was gonna pick the Patriots. No one was gonna pick.
I mean, what happened with the 1 in 5 teams? Are they like were they in
Yeah,
a dark secret society and like casting spells and shit this week? Like what the fuck?
anyone that picked the Bears with Tyson Bagent to beat the Raiders is like smoking something good.
No, I told you I thought that the Bears could pull it off. Like I was like, I feel like the Bears are gonna just say fuck you and just win it this week. Like I had a feeling, and then I should have trusted my gut on that one, but I didn't.
That's the Josh McDaniels effect. He's so bad that even an
Nothing matters to
undrafted
you.
rookie.
What is
But
that commercial? They're like, it's so easy a caveman could do it. That's
exactly.
yep.
A school of mimes can do it.
All right, we
But
gotta wrap this shit up. We're getting weird.
yeah, we appreciate all the support, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're getting rewatches out and more episodes out all season long. So stay tuned. Follow along. Good shit as always, Amanda.
Yeah, good
And
shit.
peace.